Yeah, welcome back to the I Get Better podcast. I am your host, Charlene Renee.
And I'm Phaedra Nakia Smith.
Uh, all right. See, look at her adding the full name in there. All right. So today's topic that we're going to be getting into is I get better when I learn. Learning.
Learned.
What is high? What is learning? Remember that movie, Higher Learning?
Yes.
All right, so so let's talk about it. So of course we get into each episode with defining the topic or the subject that we or the phrase that we are going to be discussing. So let's get into our own personal definitions of the word learn. I can go first if you like.
Yeah, you go ahead.
The definition. So the definition that I use, my personal definition of learning is gaining wisdom, knowledge, or insight about a subject that was previously unknown. That's my definition of
Okay.
the word learn.
I guess
What
that's
about you?
pretty much mine too. You can also, I feel like, gain a deeper insight, even if you knew
Okay.
about it. But man, I just learned this new thing about it. So I guess it is something that you don't know. Either way, the dictionary this
Okay.
definition is
It's,
um,
all right.
to gain or acquire knowledge of a skill or something else by studying, experience, or being taught. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about what gets in the way. What are some
Areas.
barriers to a person wanting to learn,
Mm,
trying to learn, taking up the action of learning?
man.
I I think number one barrier, pride and
Ooh.
arrogance. I'm putting those together.
Wow.
Pride and
You just
arrogance, I
punching
think, are
folks in
one
the
of
throat
the
already.
just gotta come right out the gate with it. Pride, man, pride. What did it say? Pride goeth before destruction, right? That's
Before the
that's the
fall.
word. But pride, it really gets in the way of a person believing that they need to learn something or they think they already know it. They think they know it
Yeah.
all. And I know quite a few people like this,
It's irritating.
right? I think some people may have said this about me in the past, but I'm reformed.
You used to be very hard headed and
I'm
stubborn.
reformed. Yes, that was my number two was stubbornness. I
Yeah.
separated it.
Listen,
I think I'm still a little bit
I used to
stubborn.
be like, okay, Charlene, girl, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much everybody's reaction to me back in the day. Like, you can't tell her nothing, right? And now I have a son like that. So I got my karma.
Yeah.
I got my
You got your get back.
it came back to me.
Yeah.
It came back around. So yeah, so pride, arrogance,
Yeah.
you said stubbornness
Yeah.
is a barrier. Um, I think I think age is a
Yeah. No,
factor.
that's good.
Um, I think age is a barrier because people will either think, okay, I'm old enough, so I already know enough,
Yeah.
or I'm too old
Yeah.
to learn,
Yeah.
you know. And there's that saying, that cliche, like you can't teach an old dog new tricks,
Yeah.
or I'm set in my ways,
Mm.
or whatever the case may be. And this is a barrier to someone being willing to learn something new
Right.
or gain knowledge or gain insight. And it's detrimental, I think, to our development and our growth
Yeah.
when we are unwilling to acknowledge the fact that we still have more to learn and
Yeah.
we don't know everything,
Yeah.
or that we can learn
Yeah.
new things at any age. Like, it really is that other saying that you learn something new every day. I think that is true too, only if you're willing to,
Yeah.
or only if you're open to
Yeah.
learning something new every day, because there's so much information out there that none of us could possibly have learned everything.
Not everything.
And nor will we,
Yeah.
nor will we, and we don't need to necessarily.
Yeah.
But when you are in pride and arrogance, you're foolish,
100%.
and you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting just yourself, but you're hurting yourself and those around you who now have to be exposed to your foolishness.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So, yeah. So what are there any other barriers that you think get in the way?
Well, I mean, along with those things, I think at the root of it, a lot of times is fear. We're trying to
Mm.
protect ourselves from, looking or feeling stupid or, failure. And so sometimes that can be a huge part of it.
Hmm.
So,
Well, that to that point, okay. So the looking or feeling stupid piece, I
yeah,
think that tags along with the pride because you think I'm too good for this, right? I think I'm not supposed to look like I don't know something, or I'm not supposed to look um ignorant
that's true.
to something. So being able to be boldly, confident in that statement
Right.
of, I may be stupid in this particular area, or I may be ignorant, if that's a nicer,
Yeah.
kinder, gentler way to put it. But we all have ignorances to things. We all are dumb in some areas, or unknowing or
Yeah.
unlearned in
Yeah.
certain things. So starting with really being willing to humble yourself and lower yourself to a different level by saying, I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
I have no clue. I don't know where to begin. I
Right.
don't know how to start. That's, I think, the first step to getting better at learning and being willing to put yourself in a lower position
Yeah.
and not be fearful that other people are going to put you there.
Yeah.
So I can put myself somewhere and I don't need anybody else to put me there. I
Hmm.
don't need anyone else to come and tell me that I'm stupid or I'm dumb, which is an insult for sure.
Yeah.
But if I can put myself in that category and someone else says it, it's not offensive to me because that's what you're right. I
Yeah.
am dumb
I'm,
to this.
yeah,
That
I'm
doesn't mean I'm
ignorant.
dumb as a person, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, I'm ignorant, but not to everything. But to this
Correct.
particular thing, I have no clue.
Yeah. And that's
I have
okay.
no idea.
We all had to
Yeah,
start somewhere.
right.
So, yeah. Yeah. Any other barriers you can
Well,
think
let's
of?
just one more, and then we could jump into the ways to get better. I think faulty beliefs about yourself
Yeah.
and about the difficulty of learning
Yeah.
something. So sometimes we will over exaggerate the difficulty of something
Yeah.
and think, oh, that is just so complex or
Right.
so hard for me to understand. And then you won't even try.
Yeah.
And then you may read something and you're like, oh, this is really simple or this makes so much sense. But you overestimated the difficulty,
Hmm.
and then the faulty belief about yourself being that you cannot learn,
Right.
right? Or you don't have the capacity to learn.
Yeah.
So I think that's a barrier, for sure. And let's talk about what are some ways to get better. How can we improve at being a person who's good at or better at learning?
Well, I think the opposite of pride is humility. So being able to be
Mm-hmm.
humble and put yourself in positions that maybe feel scary, or force you to really kill that part of you that is saying, I can't do this because of, or I don't want to look like this. Like being able to say, you know what, it is what it is, because this won't be
Yeah,
where I stay.
right. Yeah. And I think another thing is being patient with yourself
Yeah.
and allowing yourself room to progressively gain information and knowledge. So starting out at the beginner level,
Yeah.
then moving to intermediate, then moving to expert. And for certain things, when you learn something, you don't need to become an expert at it. You just may need just enough information, like um, computers, for example. Like
Yeah.
there are certain basic computer skills that will get you through, and you don't need a complex
Right.
awareness of all of the inner workings of a computer. But okay, do you know how to log in and check your email? Do you know how to attach something
Yeah.
to an email?
Yes.
This is for you, mama. Do you know how to attach
This is for you,
email?
Daddy.
Because she will not learn that at all at 65.
Golly.
So, really getting the basic knowledge of certain things, knowing a little bit a lot about a lot of things is still helpful, And so, being patient with yourself and not putting an expectation that you have to get to expert level of knowledge in every subject,
Yeah.
I think is a way to get better at being willing. to learn.
Yeah.
And the next point I had was being flexible in the modalities in which you might learn. So
Oh,
everyone
that's
doesn't
good.
need to go to school. Everyone
Yeah.
doesn't need to take a class or go to college necessarily, or take a certification in something, but you can learn through so many different mediums. It's not just about what's in a book, although books are really good
Yeah.
formats for learning. But audio learning, watching a video, watching a YouTube, just being around someone who's doing something and demonstrating a skill. I think being flexible in the way that you might learn or gain information or knowledge, and not just limit yourself to, I don't want to have to go to school or something, or I don't want to have to take a course or a class, which sometimes those are helpful and you do need to,
Yeah.
which comes back to being patient. But that's not the only way to learn, and it's not limited to those things to be able to
I like
learn.
that. I like that. Yeah. Because I think some people are also just hands on learners. And so, getting an internship or volunteering places that people are willing to teach you on
Mhm.
the site training type of situations. But I think you have to put
Right.
yourself in a position where you can ask for the help and receive
Yes.
the help, So I think it comes
But you
back
gotta
to
get humble first
correct.
to
It
ask
comes
for the
back to
help,
that.
right?
Comes back
That
to
comes
that.
first, right? You gotta
Yep.
get humble. And then the last thing that I had written down about this was changing your perspective about learning. Because I think people a lot of times associate learning with school and school with boring.
Ah,
And I don't want to do that, right? Or it just
right.
sounds boring to have to
Right.
learn. But to change your perspective, because learning can actually be fun and
Yeah.
exciting. Like when you learn a new thing, you're like, man, that's awesome. I just
Yeah.
learned that, and it could just be this awakening and this excitement and enthusiasm that comes from learning. And it isn't just, this is school, this is boring, I gotta read, this is boring, So changing your perspective on the idea of learning and
Yeah.
it being something that you actually want to do and you
Yeah.
desire to do because you see the benefit in it and you see the value in it, you see the positivity in it,
Yeah.
and not just look at it from a perspective of, that just sounds like work. Or that just sounds like something that is not going to be interesting or exciting at all. So, being willing to change your perspective, I think, is another way to get better at learning and being willing to learn.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Jen-
Yeah.
Any other points that you can think of on
No, I
ways to
mean
get
the only
better?
thing I think the only thing I thought of was piggybacking on that was just the time that it takes. Like that, you know, a lot of things happen in increments. And so you see people where they are now, but that came over time. And so being willing to start somewhere and to realize like it might take years before you become an expert in something, but you have to start somewhere. And so that might be with a book, but that might be with a YouTube video, and that's okay.
Hmm.
So being patient.
Yeah. YouTube University. You can get a
Yes.
PhD in a lot of things on YouTube. So,
Yep.
okay, yeah. So, we just wanted to come with a kind of a quick episode on how to get better at learning, how to address some of those barriers that come up or may get in the way of you being open to or willing to engage in learning something new, and just a few ways that you can work to improve on that and to get better, which is what we always encourage and strive to do every day. We may never be experts at everything. We'll never be perfect at anything, but we can always get better.
Yeah. I love that. That's good.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay,
Until
well,
next
as
time.
always, yeah. So like, comment, share, and subscribe to the I Get Better podcast. We're back in full effect. We're gonna keep
Back
coming with more
live.
topics. Yes, and you can also send us topics that you want us to discuss. You can send us or put in the chat, put in a comment, or you can email us. You can reach us by any means necessary. So
Yeah.
we can
Instagram.
Yeah, we have an Instagram page, Facebook page, so you can find us, and we're streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where podcasts can be found. So,
Yeah.
as always, we just want to keep getting better, and we'll
Yeah.
see you later.